I have a problem with my brakes. I noticed my power brakes were not working properly. So here's what happens when I step on the brake pedal. Watch the RPMs. They jump up, and that's because the booster has a vacuum leak. I can also hear it. Don't know if you can hear it, but there is a hiss. When I let off the pedal, the hiss goes away. So we need to diagnose this. So the brake booster is there. It's pretty new, but the check valve is here. That's a one-way valve for vacuum from the manifold. So the manifold down here creates suction, and it sucks and creates a negative pressure or vacuum inside this canister. This check valve keeps it from flowing both ways. It only can draw air into the tube from inside here and go towards the engine. We need to check that. I've disconnected the master cylinder from the brake booster, and notice there is an intermediate pin there right in the center at the bullseye there. That has a certain measured length that is adjustable. When I put my new one on, I make sure it's the same. Otherwise, it may be out of adjustment, and the brakes would begin to bind from never letting the master cylinder plunger return to the complete home position. I've seen this happen. It's happened to me more than once. So the booster is out. Now I had fabricated a cup on the end of the push rod, because in these old trucks the push rod is basically a piston rod off of the brake pedal, and it slips inside there. So I want to measure to see how far that is when I install it on the new booster, and I get 4 9/16. So I'll install it at the same place. So there's my new brake booster. It's the same size, essentially identical. It is chrome. Ordered the chrome by mistake. Oh well. Anyway, that's what's going on. I got it from inline tube, and it'll bolt right in. What I have to do is make the adjustments before I put it on. One thing I need to do is, you see this push rod was trimmed shorter. This one is too long, so I'll trim that shorter. Easy way to double check is see if it's the same length is to hold them up together like that. Okay, it's ready to put the cup on with the lock nut. So the booster comes with a fine thread nut, and then this has a fine thread nut welded onto the end of a coupling nut that's 1/2 by 13. Now the 1/2 by 13 is not used. Those threads, this simply works as a cup. And then this gets threaded on here, and the jam nut holds it securely. This system uses a push rod that comes in here and actually contacts the end of the booster rod. This is simply holds the push rod inside it so that it doesn't fall out and so forth. So this system is not under any real pressure, but it's a push system anyway, so the push rod will fit inside this hole. Now I got to measure to make sure this is 4 9/16 from the surface. So I have the cup on and the jam nut, and that's securely on there. Now it's ready to bolt back into place on the truck bracket. So I put the dust boot on. This cup will be the place where the tip of the push rod right here, you can see it, will fit, and I'm going to have to somehow hold this up so that it's facing the hole in the firewall, so when I slide the booster in place, the push rod will be inside the cup. So I've propped the push rod up with, believe it or not, a ball peen hammer was the right length. So I'm looking at the push rod. I'll push the booster into place with the push rod in the cup. So I just measured the distance from the face of this to the tip of this, and it's 3/16 inches deep from the surface of the booster. That's important because if it sticks out too much, then the master cylinder piston will never be able to back off of some travel and come to the home position, and you will have a buildup of pressure in your brake lines, and eventually they'll become very tight and you'll start to smell your brakes. I've had that happen on one occasion. So I checked this and it was 3/16. That's an adjustment for my particular situation. Now I'll make sure the other one is 3/16 inches as well. So this one is about 7/32, which is just a 32nd of an inch, 1/32 of an inch deeper than the other one. I'm fine with that. It will back off enough to let the master cylinder piston return to the full home position, and that 1/32 of an inch is not going to matter. I've already tested my valve, check valve, so I'm ready to bolt my master cylinder back on. So another thing you can do is measure the distance from this surface, which would mate up to the surface, the front surface of the booster, and measure the depth of the how much that center piston pushes out. We're talking about the silver in the middle. That needs to have just, you know, a hair's distance of free play. So that should, silver center bullseye should not stick out any further than, in this case, 7/32 would be flush, so 6/32 would be ideal. One method you can do to check to see if it's too long is put just a smear of grease on there, and then look for a smear of grease on the silver intermediate rod right there. Now I've had to drill out the center of that to give me a little bit more space because I didn't want to shorten this one anymore. But if you see grease on it when you put it together and take it apart again, then you probably have contact. Well, she's all bolted back up. I will now connect my hose to the check valve, which I have already done a preliminary, made sure that it only flows one way, and we'll see if we fixed anything. So I got the booster installed, and I have to check to make sure my pedal play is correct. So I come into the truck and I press the pedal until I feel contact with the booster. So that's probably 1/2 inch of play from where it starts to where it contacts. And then up here, right up in here, we're going to watch so it goes that very small amount up there, but it's magnified or it's multiplied in the by the pedal arm. But no binding. About a 1/2 inch of play. Take it for a test drive.